Heater core. I had a request regarding a Saturn Vue, and the fella wasn't having heat inside his Vue. So I wanted to tell him that he might want to check a few things first before he just automatically goes and changes the heater core. These are the hoses that are on the firewall that go to the heater core. Now you might want to check, there could be a valve on one of these rubber hoses that go to the motor, and that valve could be staying shut. If that valve is staying shut, you're not going to have any heat on the inside. Now that valve would more than likely operate off of one of your switches from inside the dashboard. You know, when you maneuver, you move over your switch to heat, cold, opening vents and closing vents. That would control that little valve. Now I'm not saying there is a valve on that line, but you definitely want to check that first to make sure. And then after that, it's kind of a pain in the arse, but to make sure you have flow in your heater core. And all you have to do is remove both hoses and stick a garden hose on the one. And if you have a lot of flow coming out the other one, then your heater core is fine, unless it's leaking on the inside. If it's leaking on the inside, well then you're obviously going to have a bad heater core. It's a pretty big job changing it. It's not all that fun. It's definitely doable. But I would recommend doing that, making sure you pull off your hoses. You can even leave the hose on and pull it off your engine side. It doesn't really matter. And then stick your garden hose in there and make sure the other end's got a lot of flow of water coming out of it. If it does, your heater core is fine. The reason why you wouldn't have heat would be a different problem. Now if you stick your garden hose on there and you don't get much of a flow coming out of the other end of the heater core, then you got a plugged up heater core. Now you might be able to just flush it out without changing the heater core, just by running water through it, and eventually it'll unplug itself just by flushing it out real good. But if that don't work, well then you have to change the heater core. And fortunately, I'm not going to go through the process of changing this heater core, because this vehicle here is pretty much just garbage, scrap. But what I do have is I have most of it apart on the inside, and it's really not all that complicated, but you have to remove quite a few things. As you can see, here's basically the inside of it with all the panels and the dashboard and the top part removed. So you're going to have to remove all that stuff to get to your heater box, which is here. And then basically you're going to have to start separating your heater box to get to the heater core itself. Your heater core is inside that box, and I'd imagine, I can't say for sure, but I would imagine it's between right here. So you would undo all these bolts, and then this piece here would come down, release itself, and your heater core should be right there. And once you get that off, the heater core itself is really actually simple to change. But there's a lot involved with doing it. The dashboard actually comes off. This piece here comes off pretty simple. It's not all that complicated to remove that dash itself. It comes off as one big piece. But you have all your front panels that you have to remove to be able to get to your heater box, which that's where the complication comes in. And well, that's where all there is to it comes in. But that's about the size of it. You just need to do what needs to be done to get that heater core out, and that's about the only way a person can change their heater core, is doing what's required. Exposing that heater box and getting that heater box apart until they come across where the heater core is. And I don't exactly know, because I never actually had it apart, but I'm pretty sure that it's underneath. Once these two halves are separated, you're going to find the heater core is right there. Well, I hope this helped you out, fella. I hope it gave you a little glimpse and a little bit of information that you never had before. You can see this one all apart. I'd recommend, taking your time and just do one piece at a time. If you kind of get struggling moments, film it, so you know how it goes back together. But I wouldn't just assume it's your heater core right off the bat, not giving you heat. I would definitely do those tests with the heater core itself. Your thermostat's probably fine. I mean, it may be not working properly, but if thermostat's not working properly, you're still going to get a little bit of heat, because basically your thermostat's kind of stopping and controlling the circulation of your coolant system between your radiator and your motor, is more so the purpose of the thermostat, not so much for the heat inside the vehicle. Thermostats basically open and close and exchange the liquids from the motor to the radiator, and then the thermostat shuts back down again until temperatures start changing again, and then that thermostat will open up again and create the switch. So the water that's in the motor can go through a cooling process, and then the water that's in the radiator fills up the motor, and then that'll get hot again, and it just keeps kind of going through the cycle. Keep circulating that way until it keeps the temperature of the water decent, so nothing overheats. But that's what you have to look at for the heater core job, changing it. A little bit of an involvement for sure, no doubt about it. Just make sure you have a couple days ahead of yourself that you don't need the vehicle. That'd probably be the best bet. I couldn't tell you how many hours it would take a person. I don't even know what the mechanic's book tells a person it would take as far as hours. But definitely a good part of the day, I'm sure. Well, I hope this helped you out.